I'd like to take a moment and talk about the homework feature inside of MyMathLab. I've added some additional features this semester. Now, if you look at homework 1.3, that is a graded assignment and it goes to affect your homework grade. Then I have another link, homework mastery 1.3. This does not affect your grade. This is an optional assignment. Now, I like to be very, very careful when I use the words optional. I want you to understand passing the class is optional. And to pass the class, you're generally going to have to do a lot of optional extra hard work. You can choose to pass the course by doing all the extra work that's necessary to understand everything or not. What I'm trying to do this semester is to give you some assistance on how to do that extra optional work, which is kind of mandatory to pass the class. So let me explain that. When you're doing the homework, you get all kinds of bells and whistles in there, such as if I look at a homework question, you get all these links, help me solve this, view an example, link to the textbook, ask my instructor. These are all learning aids so that you can understand how to do these types of problems. And that's a really important part of the learning process. And I want you to use whatever tool you need to until you understand what's going on with this question. However, if you stop there in the learning process, you're not going to pass the quizzes and you're not going to pass the tests. It's really not enough work. How much more work should you do? That's completely optional to you. And it's completely dependent on how fast you learn. If you're not using any of these things to do your homework, then you're probably really good to go. And again, for me, it's completely up to you. It's 100% optional how much work you think you need to do to pass my test. Now, for most individuals, you're going to need a lot more work than just going over the homework, especially if you're using these tools. A lot more work. So, how do I help you organize what work you should be doing? I help that by giving you the mastery set of homework assignment. Now, when you do a mastery assignment, this is going to help you realize whether you actually are prepared with this material or not. So now when you go to that same question, number 5, there are no tools except for Ask My Instructor, which is an email tool asking me for help. Basically, at the mastery level, you need to be able to do it without any aid. If you cannot do the homework without aids, you don't really know it at the level that you need to pass this course. And again, passing is optional. So I'd like you to take that option and make sure that you're doing these mastery assignments if you want to pass the course. Again, perfectly optional. But it's a big way of letting you get the feedback that you need to know just how prepared you are. Now, beyond the mastery level homework assignments, as you prepare for exams, let's see, trying to find out where they will be. Oh, here they are. These are review homeworks. These are basically what I would expect you to do before taking an exam. So you've done the homework that I've assigned with all the assistance you need so you can figure out the learning process. Then I would expect you to take the optional mastery level so that you have completed the learning process. And then before the test, I'd expect you to do that homework assignment one more time for review. This is the normal process of being a good student. You can do every required assignment in this class, and if that's all you do, I truly would expect most students will fail the course if that's all you do. Because it requires a lot of independent, hard work and studying to be fully successful. Now let's talk about that for just a moment. How much time is a reasonable amount of time that you're spending on your homework? Now, generally the recommendation for a 3-credit hour class, general recommendation, is about minimum 3 hours a week. So this is the hours per week. Now, if it's a 15-week term, then for the term I would take this times 15, and that's your normal term. And this is really what I would consider minimal necessary to be successful in a course. Well, here's the thing. That's for a 15-week semester. We're in a 6-week semester, which means the hours per week to do the exact same amount of work is probably going to be a lot higher. How do I figure out how many hours per week you should be spending on homework? It should be the 45 hours of minimum homework time in a semester divided by 6 weeks. So basically that's minimum 7.5 hours a week. Minimum. Now, if math is a difficult course, let me zoom in a little bit here. For many of you, if you would answer the question, am I a good test taker? And your answer is no, it's probably because you have not done enough optional studying, optional problems that are absolutely 100% necessary for you to take that option of passing the course. So let's say you're not a good test taker. That means you need to do a lot more optional studying. In a normal semester, I would say as many as 5 hours a week would be very reasonable for someone who does not feel that they test well. If you do 5 hours a week of homework, you will do enough optional work that you will test much better. But what does that mean? 5 hours, 15 hours, or 5 hours a week for 15 weeks is 75 hours for a semester. And that divided into a 6-week semester, because it's the same course, doesn't matter whether you take it in 15 weeks or 6 weeks. That means if you don't consider yourself a good test taker, then you need to do the optional additional work to put you up to about 12.5 hours a week dedicated to this class, and then you will be a good test taker. So, again, that's perfectly optional. Passing the course, 100% optional. Now, at the end of, let's see, this course started on the 2nd, by the 9th, in 1 week, first week of class, I'm going to send out the very first email report card of how successful you're being in this course. And one of the things you have to understand is I can go to the computer and I can look at how much optional work you're choosing to do. Are you choosing the option of taking this extra tools that I'm giving you? If not, you need to understand getting an A or a B is 100% optional, and it will require a lot of extra optional work. Beyond doing the homework I give you, you have an e-textbook. Actually, I'm going to go this route. In the e-textbook, I don't want to leave this page. Now leave the page. In the you can break it down by chapter contents. You can look at any chapter, any section that you have homework on, And got all kinds of cool things. You can watch videos that the textbook gives you. Beyond the videos I give you, the textbook gives you video. There's an actual textbook. And I would highly suggest reading the textbook. In fact, probably a most effective way to get an A in the course would be to read the textbook. So let me go back into MyMathLab for just a second. I'm going to go to homework. I'm going to click show all. You have to be a little careful. Sometimes it takes you to the middle of the assignments, not the beginning. So, you started this class. You see that I give you lectures, but even before you look at that video lecture, you should be reading the section in the e-textbook or the physical textbook, whatever you have. You should be reading the textbook before you watch the video lecture. It's a really good textbook. It explains things very well. And when you've read the textbook, you may not get it 100%, but then watch the video. Then attempt to figure out the problems with all the learning aids, and then make sure you've mastered the work. If all you're doing is this and using the aids to help you, you're probably not going to pass the class at all. I want to make sure that you know that if all you're doing is doing the show me, and then you're thinking, but I did 90% on the homework, you're not going to pass the course. You need to understand the material, you need to remember how to do it, and you need to be able to do it without any help. If you can't get there, that you can do it without any help, then you won't pass the test. Because when you take the test, you're going to be asked to do those questions without any help, and the tests are by far the biggest chunk of your total grade.